Carol Metzger, author of Facing the Monster, How One Person Can Fight Child Slavery, got involved with sex trafficking through the work she has done.
I look at slavery as having three factors, and victims of sex trafficking are, of course, slaves. Slaves work unpaid, they're unable to leave, and they are subject to violence or threat, either to themselves or to someone they love.
The Trafficking Victims Protection Act talks about
the recruitment, harboring, transportation, provision, or obtaining of a person for the purpose of a commercial sex act, where such an act is induced by force, fraud, or coercion, or in which the person induced to perform such act has not attained 18 years of age.
Rights are rights, no matter who we are as humans. The Declaration of Independence is life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. They apply to all, and sex trafficking is simply taking away all of those.
One of the most important things is how desperately they need their humanity to be recognized and how they need to be treated with dignity and respect. It's something they haven't gotten, and it's something they desperately need.
Like Carol, Candace Linian, Director of Sexual Assault Services for Delaware County, works every day to promote a safe environment for girls in need.
They perceive as they have no rights, and that's what the John or the pimp wants them to believe, that they have no rights. They have no right to food, they have no right to money, they have no right to a safe living environment, that they don't have a right to report to police. For some of these clients as well, the survivors of sex trafficking, they're immigrants. And so they also believe that they don't have the right to be in this country, document it. So a lot of them are undocumented. I think it just goes with how sexual assault itself denies someone their dignity. I mean, it's a violation in the most personal, intimate way. But with these folks, these individuals that are being sex trafficked, they're promised better lives. They're promised money so they could raise their families, so they can support themselves. And what in turn is happening is they are being raped on a daily basis, if not one, multiple times. And they are being forced to be put in situations that are extremely violent and dangerous.
Sex trafficking is a $32 billion industry. This is an industry that is getting ready to surpass the illegal drug industry.
There are predators out there, whether they're in malls, coffee shops, or simply on the street, who know the new faces, the new girls who are out there. And they are the first to say, I see you're alone. You're much too sweet to be left alone. The conversation develops quickly into, you don't have a place to stay? Come stay with me. I will love you the way your family didn't love you. I'll take care of you, feed you, put a roof over your head. Let me buy you some pretty clothes. You're also very pretty.
But they're also being told that this is the only way that they can live a life, and that the pimp or the John is the person that will only care for them and take care of them. So I think in all aspects of denying someone their human rights, absolutely, that's what a victim of sex trafficking goes through.
Definition. You know, now you're being asked to dance, you know, exotic dancing. Maybe you're asked to strip, to pose for photographs, or you're being asked or being forced to work in a brothel. It goes very quickly from a situation where you're being told, I'll love you like you haven't been loved before, to a situation where you're working unpaid, you can't leave. How many times can you sell a drug? It can only be consumed once. A human can be sold over and over again. And this system of slavery as the starting point for what we as a society needs to do. You know, what is our responsibility? We need to poke at each one of those systems. With victims, I think it's our responsibility. We need to protect folks from sexual abuse. Obviously, prevention is the best thing we can do. We need to begin to look at victims instead of as criminals. What a common myth of sex trafficking, of prostitution, is that this is a victimless crime. Those women want to do that. I'm here to tell you, women do not want to have sex. Men do not want to have sex. 20 to 25 strangers a day. you're exposed to pregnancy, terrible STDs, other health problems. There are women who have, been raped. They have had knives and guns held to them. They have had their heads stomped on. There's a lot of head trauma. Many of the survivors have scars under their hairline where they've been beaten and you can't see it. It's not a victimless crime. The average life of a woman who's being prostituted once she begins entry is 7 years. We need to be educated. We need to learn more about the crimes of human trafficking, sex trafficking, and modern slavery, so that we're now aware that this is a system and that we can fight it, that there are solutions.
What can the public do to address this injustice?
We have a responsibility as citizens to work with our legislators to say, what kind of laws can we enact that will keep traffickers from either repeating their crimes, to prosecute. In fact, there is a law right now, it's a bill, Senate Bill 75 in Pennsylvania. It's very comprehensive. It looks at providing a definition of human trafficking so that we can prosecute traffickers better. It looks at provisions, providing the services that victims and survivors who've been rescued need. I think we have that responsibility to understand that there's a National Human Trafficking Hotline for tipsters and victims to call if you suspect something is awry, that there may be a victim of human trafficking, or if you yourself are in captivity. They're also currently working on an international hotline. So if you happen to be in an airport, you're leaving one country headed to another, and it looks like this person may be headed to yet a third country or coming from a third country, and they appear to be under the control of someone else. It looks like they're 16 years old, they're disoriented, they look like they need help.
The national hotline to call is 1-888-373-7888 or text Be Free to 233733.
My job with these other women is simply to provide an opportunity for survivors to develop healthy relationships, maybe even friendships, in an atmosphere of dignity, respect, and freedom. It's painful. The only way you can get up during the day is when your pimp provides what's called a wake-up kit. And that is, he brings in the needle, the syringe, a pipe, and whatever your drug of choice is. Drugs are another way of keeping someone, and their addiction is another way of keeping someone enslaved.
It's challenging because some of the women and girls come to you addicted, and so that's really difficult until they, get services to sober up or clean up.
And as soon as we begin thinking of her as a victim who needs our help, instead of as a criminal who should be arrested for prostitution and chided, the sooner the attitudes are going to change that we give them the help that they need. The sooner we begin thinking more about projects like Project Dawn Court, which is rehabilitation instead of reincarceration. It's helping, it's finding more places like Dawn's Place that help women find, positive, brighter futures by giving them the help they need.
We're really, really fortunate. We have one of the, we're in a county where we have very high reporting rate, we have a high conviction rate, and I think with the team approach, it makes it that much easier or smoother of a process for a victim. And that's our goal, that no victim should have to go through this alone. And so certainly we can't take away the trauma that they've endured, but we can provide to their life by making those phone calls for them, getting them resources, making the process a little bit smoother, and that's what our job. And also restoring dignity, giving back their control. So what we provide is crisis intervention. We have a 24-hour hotline. We have individual counseling, group counseling. We provide counseling to significant others because this issue just doesn't affect the individual, it affects their entire system, the community, the other family members involved. We have services that include medical accompaniment, which means what we actually go out to all of our 6 hospitals here in Delaware County. If a victim presents themselves into an emergency room for a forensic rape kit examination, we're called out so we can be there for that victim, as well as great mental health services and victim services. But what we're lacking is shelter and appropriate housing for these victims. It also affects our community on a local front, that it's happening right here in Delaware County, it's happening in Collingdale, it's happening in Radnor, it's happening everywhere. And so it's not young ladies that are necessarily foreign born. Certainly it's an international issue, but we're seeing it right here in Delaware County.